computer. Okay, now thank you everyone for coming. Okay, we are so glad and privileged to have Kai from Enscape that is coming over to share with us the Enscape features. Kai is a very experienced Enscape person. In fact, he's a Enscape expert, okay, and he knows quite a few software to run Enscape in. So take this opportunity to learn from him and ask him whatever question you have. So for our program, what we kickstart with is to show the new features of 3.4. Okay, then after that, yeah, we will show the features. You can ask any question about 3.4. After that, then we'll show the feature of 3.3. Okay, and then after that, we will be Q&A question. You can just ask him any question. Okay, I also have prepared some question to ask him. Okay, so now let's just pass the time for Kai to show us his expert work. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Hey, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to attend today's session. Yeah, as Grace mentioned in the beginning, we're gonna have a look at the 3.4 new features, the 3.3 features that we've introduced with our last update. And we're gonna have a Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can absolutely ask them in the chat, either now or later during our Q&A. So this means that we assume that you have some experience with Enscape. It's not going to be a beginner's course. We're going to have a look at the new features. Enscape 3.4 released just a week ago, brand new release with a couple of improvement with existing feature improvements. Two of them, like we have improved many things as always, of course. We have improved our reflections, as you can see them here. Let me go somewhere where we have a mirror. Actually, maybe let's go to the bathroom, which we have here. No, wait a second, there it is. So reflections is always a important topic for Enscape because it's a real-time rendering engine. So it's possible that sometimes objects do not appear in reflections, and we've improved our internal algorithms tackling these things. Of course, still not solving the problem entirely, but making it a lot more easy to handle and a lot more problem-proof, so to say. When you have a mirror in your scene, it should behave better with Enscape 3.4. Of course, we have also added a couple of new assets to the Enscape library, to the Enscape asset library, which we can have a look at. Not sure they're already gone from my new folder. So based assets, and with Enscape 3.4, we've added a lot of interior based furniture, etc. models. However, it's of course all about the features in the end. So what did we change about the Enscape functionality? First of all, one change has been made to our 3D views. You know, you can access the Enscape 3D views by pressing the F key on your keyboard, or this button here, the binoculars, and we're gonna see the same 3D views as we have them in Revit. By the way, remember this, that I have Enscape in the foreground and click onto Revit and Enscape disappears, because that is also something that we have added a solution for with Enscape 3.3, but more on that later on. We have the same views, 3D view section, bedroom, entrance, exterior, kitchen, living room, office, as we have them in Revit. You probably know that. The same behavior for SketchUp and for Rhino and ArchiCAD and Vectorworks. The same views that you have on your design application side, you also have in Enscape. You access the same views, and you're taking the information from those views as well. So if we have a section cut, I think this might be a view with a section cut built in it from Revit. Yeah, there we have it. So there is a section cut going through the middle of our roof, through the middle of our building. if you have a design option set up in Revit, if you have a category of objects hidden, like the view settings, if they're being changed, Enscape reads all of that from the existing 3D views. That also includes daytime and the sun location. However, this is a little bit individual per design application, which means in some design applications, you have a geolocation system, you have a date and a time that you can set. In some other design applications, you have just the longitude and latitude, or the position of the sun that you can set. With Revit, we actually have both, right? If we go to our sun settings, we can choose for ourselves here. There they are. We can choose whether we want to go with azimuth and altitude, or if we want to go with an actual location on our planet, a date and a time. So with Enscape 3.4, one of the major updates we've added is that we've included this sun position management into the Enscape view management. So if I decide to edit a view now by clicking onto this button, or if I create a new view, that's when clicking the create view button at the bottom, in both cases, I now have the option. I can leave it on the Revit side like before, but I have the option to include the Enscape sun position or save the Enscape sun position, which means this will also provide us with an azimuth and altitude setting here. And this way I can position the sun very easily wherever I want. So I can go with the geolocation, with the place on Earth and the natural position of the sun, but I can also just choose the Enscape option here. And as you see, rotate the sun around us. That is the horizontal location of the sun, or control the vertical position of the sun. So how high it is at the moment on our sky. And of course, if I hit save, Enscape will save this this new sun position with a little indicator below the view name, as you see it here, that little sun icon showing that there is a daytime saved for this particular view in Enscape. By the way, I'm just going to reset my visual settings real quick here because I have some depth of field enabled. I've been making some renderings yesterday, so I'm just going to reset everything, go back to my sky tab here and add my background back in, and that's the default look of Enscape. That's the first feature that we've added with Enscape 3.4, the ability to manage your sun angle, sun position, independently of the natural sun position in the Enscape views themselves. One more feature that is slightly hidden beneath this is you can also now edit views and synchronize those changes back to your design application. So, and by the way, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to click on Revit and I'm going to choose the exterior 3D view, and my Enscape is gone again. So I'll have to bring it back up. Maybe just to have something more nice to look at, let me change this to shaded so we see where we are, and let's bring Enscape back up. So, and yeah, we can not just change or edit and save a new sun position in our 3D views. We can also edit existing 3D views. In the past, you would have to copy them in Revit, edit them there. There is a visual settings preset connected to this view. Let me go back to my visual settings and change it to my default one. Exactly. So in the past, you would have to go to Revit and copy the view and change it there. Now with the Enscape 3.4 update, we can also just click this edit button next to the view and move it. And I'm just going to move it somewhere, maybe here, for example. And now we have a couple of buttons that show up. Most importantly, this one here, undo changes to camera. So we could revert the camera position back to what is currently saved in this view, or we see it cut off at the bottom, or we have this save button now, which we can also click to override the settings in our view. And as you see, it's also going to communicate that back into Revit. So as always, we have one consistent model, we have one consistent source of truth, and using this new method, we can more quickly edit our existing views from Enscape into Revit. That is the first half of the 3.4 update. The second half is affecting 3D assets, your Enscape assets. And by that, I'm speaking not of the assets that are being provided by the Enscape 3D artists. I'm referring to the custom assets. So that's this interface over here. And you probably know that you can load in your own kinds of models into Enscape to be treated as Enscape assets. You can load them in FBX, GLTF, or OBJ format. That's just, the three most common formats of 3D models in the industry. And we've had a couple of remarks by some of our customers, by some larger companies, that they were literally working with thousands of custom 3D models split up by individual projects for individual customers, etc. And they requested a lot to be able to create their own categories for their own Enscape 3D custom assets. So, we have our categories for our assets, for the assets that are being provided by our design, by our 3D artists. But people were also asking to be able to add their own categories, and that's what we've added. And we can access these categories and an entirely new custom asset management by clicking this button in the bottom left corner, open the custom asset editor. And this is going to open a new window, a window that I call the list view, which shows all of the assets that we have as project files. So if you have ever been working with custom assets in Enscape, there is the finished 3D asset, and there is a project file called AST PKG file. And this interface will show these project files of your models. So you can, of course, manage them right away in here. You can also access the actual asset editor by clicking the edit button here. It will open this asset in its own asset editor. And as mentioned, the biggest change here is that we can we can create our own categories for these assets now. So you see this new category drop-down menu here. We can also create our own categories on the fly here. So test category, oops. And we can pick an icon for that category. So it is a sofa, isn't it? So let's take this one, click add, and we have a new category that this asset now belongs to. So I can just click save changes and export. It's going to revert everything back to our asset library, and you can now see our task category is now part of this. This is very interesting, of this custom asset window. Let me just reopen the custom asset editor window, this list view. And just to show you how you can access or how you can manage those categories further, you can also say, let's make it a test category 2. Let's pick a different icon for it, and we can, for example, assign multiple assets at once to individual categories by simply dragging them and dropping them onto one of those category names. So yeah, as you see here, we can access the categories right here in the Enscape custom asset editor. Let's close this. Yeah, we want to save those changes. And let's see how it behaves here. This is really interesting. I might need to check back with the devs afterwards because yeah, it's currently not reading these categories. Let me just check what version I'm using here. Well, I'm gonna look into that a little later on. But of course, in your when you approach this the category, or if you click a category, it should select only the assets that are in that particular category, like with the regular assets as well. So yeah, that is what we have added as features for Enscape 3.4. Now, Grace has also asked me to tackle a couple of the features that we have added with Enscape 3.3. So that's what we're gonna do as well. Let me just jump back to a different 3D view with a different setting. There we go. So you've noticed that once in a while, whenever I work in Enscape and then I switch over to Revit, my Enscape window moves back behind the Revit window. And if you're working on two screens on two monitors, that is not a problem. But if you're working on just one monitor, this can be exhausting. So we have added one setting. It is hidden here in the Enscape window settings. And there under preferences, you will find pin Enscape window on top of the host application. And when I enable this, I can make the Enscape window a little smaller, and I can now work in Revit, click on everything in here, and Enscape will no longer move into the background. So this is really useful because you can essentially treat Enscape like its own part of the Revit user interface. Work on changes here. I'm just going to move this car and you will see it in Enscape right away. So that can be very useful here. Just to repeat where you can find this setting, it's in the Enscape window settings, preferences, pin Enscape window on top of the host application. That is one of the smaller features that we've added with Enscape 3.3. Let me continue with that. Before we get to the biggest feature towards the end, we have the Enscape material library. You're probably familiar with that. You can pick any of the materials that we've created for you. You can load them in, import them, and that will make them become a part of your project, of your design. So if I go into my Revit material management, into my material browser here, I will now have, what was it, a fabric material that I've imported. So now if I go to F, I will find this fabric 10 that I've just imported from the Enscape material library. And I can use it in my scene right away, which is nice. But there is another workflow where you don't want to import a new material. You want to overwrite an existing material. So that was a little tricky before Enscape 3.3, but we have made that a part of the Enscape feature set as well. And you can find this feature in the Enscape material editor. So we are going to access the Enscape material library, but we do that through the Enscape material editor because we should have most of our materials show up in here. Only generic type materials show up here. So if it's from a different type, you should change the material type for it to show up in here. But where's our fabric? F, there we are. So, but once we have our material here in the Enscape material editor, we can hover over the material name in this materials list and then click on these three dots that appear when, well, hovering over the material. And we have a new menu icon or menu item in here. It's called Replace with Enscape Material. And when we select that, the Enscape material library opens again. And we're where we were before, but we can now choose any of these materials and it will replace this existing material with whatever we choose. And we even get a preview in Enscape right away to judge what it's going to look like and pick the material that we want the most. Let's just go with this. And once we have made a decision, we can click replace, and voila, it's overriding the existing material in Revit. By the way, it's only overriding the appearance tab in the material window. You probably know the Revit material system has more than just the looks. There may be thermal data and heat resistance and whatnot, and all of that stays the same. It will only update the appearance tab, of course. Exactly. Let's see. Another feature that we have added with Enscape 3.3 is the ability to export alpha channels. So alpha channels are very useful if you want to replace the your rendering, if you want to replace the background of the rendering with a image, with a photograph. So to do that, to show you what this is about, let me just look for a landscape image on Google, just doing this really quick. Let's go with something stylized like this. I think that also, or let's go with this. No, let's see. I'm just gonna go with this one to drive the point across. Let's see where we can find that. Let's go with this, download. Ah, I see. Well, I'm just gonna take it in small resolution. That's fine for our cause. And I'm just gonna open it in my image editing software, paint.net in that case. And I'm just gonna throw it in there. Just a second. There we go. Let's change the canvas size to 1920 times 1080 pixels because I am going to export this in full HD Grace. You can't stop me. Let me just select, there's my toolbar. Let me just select just the image, change the scale to prepare it for our rendering foreground. We can actually make it a little bigger, I suppose. Maybe like this. Okay, so if I want to use this artificial background for my rendering foreground, we can tell Enscape to render the image entirely without any foreground, without any background, which means we go to the visual settings output tab. And here, when PNG is being used as export format for our renderings, we can choose apply alpha channel. And if I render an image now, once again, I'm gonna do that in full HD, and I'm just gonna save it on my desktop for now. We have the time. So already done. I can just drag and drop the image that I've just created. This is what it looks like. I've just opened it on my second screen. So you see there is no background at all. And I can just drag and drop it over my existing image here. And I have a clean image, clean foreground, clean background, and all of that really quickly and easily. So, you know, that's the alpha channel. It essentially creates a mask for the content of your scene and removes the background automatically for you to replace it with a background of your choice. Exactly. So those are most of the updates that we have added with Enscape 3.3. The biggest one of them, however, is the side context feature, which you can see in the top left corner. At the moment, you can press the O key to open it, or this skyline button, so to say. And it's empty at first. you see there is an empty tab on the left that opens, and we can click Add Site Context at the bottom here. And this lets us access through the OpenStreetMap service a location anywhere on the world. So right now we're located in Germany, but for example, I can open a location maybe in Singapore. Let's search for that. And there is plenty to choose from in Singapore. We have a 1 × 1 kilometer square by default that we can of course expand, but don't think you can load all of Singapore into Enscape at once. But yeah, let's pick maybe some part in here. I'm gonna recenter my selection square, and we can zoom in to place our building in more detail. So Enscape will automatically remove whatever is overlapping here. So let's pick which building should be removed for Enscape to be located in. Let's take this parking building, for example, and I'm just going to click import, and Enscape will load in the topology. It will topography. I'm confused myself. The topology, the buildings and the streets. And it will do all of that automatically, not as a photorealistic representation, of course, but as a stylistic white cubes representation. And if something happens like here, that a part of our building is below the ground, we can of course still change that. We can click in the top left corner here, these 3 lines to open the menu, and we can select Edit Site Context. And now we can grab the environment. I hope you see it and move it around. We can hold Control at the same time, and that will enable us to control the height of this surrounding environment. So once we're satisfied, we click Confirm Changes, and we have adjusted the height of our site context. Exactly. There are a little more parts of this that we could explore, like we can hide and unhide that site context. We can select individual buildings divided by street. We can click on them here. We can hide individual buildings as well if we want to. And of course, we can remove the site context as well in order to make some space again for our environment. But essentially, this is what we have added as features for Enscape 3.3. I hope you like it. Let's see. Or of course, we can also have a look at more places on the site context. So we can click Update Site Context, and we can instead, for example, go for a place in Myanmar. There we go. It looks to me, I'm not sure how densely populated everything in here is, but let's see what happens if we take a little bit of a larger square, larger environment. But I think the point comes across. Wherever you are on the planet, the OpenStreetMap service provides maps for your environment. So I think we're still seeing the shadows of the buildings that were here before that. Yes, exactly. So this seems to be a rather empty area, at least in terms of buildings. OpenStreetMaps is a user managed service. So of course, we cannot guarantee that everything is being displayed correctly. It's being maintained by their users. Let's see, let's maybe go with one more location. What do we have here? Malaysia, for example. Let's go with the University of Science. And let's load in this location in here as well. And again, edit site context, change the height a little bit, confirm changes, and there we go. All right. These have been the updates that we have introduced with Enscape 3.3 and 3.4. Now, as far as I know, we can go with the Q&A. Oh no, one more thing, exactly, that I didn't mention yet. As of now, Enscape is also, before Enscape was only available for Windows systems. As of now, Enscape for Mac has been released for SketchUp. So a first version of Enscape for Mac is now available for SketchUp 22 and 21. None of the other design applications are supported yet, but of course it is our plan to add support for the other design applications like Rhino, ArchiCAD, and Vectorworks as well. So stay tuned. That's going to come your way soon. Exactly. Now we can begin with the Q&A. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. I think, Grace, they can also unmute themselves. What do you think?
Yes, yes. But first, I have some question to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me represent the audience to ask a few questions first. While you're ready your question, please feel free to post your question inside the chat so that we can answer them. Okay. So the first question I want to ask is for this side contact just now. That we seen this one on just now example put in Malaysia. How do you pull it out? You just click your right button with the arrow and pull up, hold and pull up will do. How do you, that's how you do it. So it's just
let's do it again.
So you just hold your left button and move your arrow around, it will move it up down, is it?
Let's do it again. So I go to the side context menu. You click these three lines to open your options there, and you click edit side context. That will change the side context to become transparent. Okay. And you can now just grab it and move it around, but that will only move it around horizontally. If you press Control at the same time, that will let you move it up and down, so vertically.
Okay. Yeah. So they may have this question, so I just help them to clarify. Okay, that's one good thing. Okay, another thing I saw, can you click on in Revit, click on Enscape. In the Revit, click on the Enscape menu.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanna, can you show them what it means by this synchronized view?
Oh yeah, of course. That is actually, you're right. That is one feature that came new to Revit with Enscape 3.3. Synchronized views. If you don't feel well navigating inside of Enscape, if you are much more used to your navigation in Revit, you can now also just click the synchronized views button to synchronize your camera from Revit to Enscape. So you can just move in Revit and Enscape will follow. That's what this button is about. We have this for every design application by now. So you never have to learn movement in Enscape if you don't want to. Okay.
So it's the movement in Revit that reflect in Enscape. Oh, okay.
Yes.
How about the movement in Enscape? Can it be reflect in Revit?
No, there is something in that regards. Let me show you. I'm just going to click synchronize or hide. I'm going to hide or disable synchronized views. And below that, we have a Revit live camera. This is a really old feature. It can be very useful because if I now move around, you will see a camera flying in Revit. Do you see that? A camera where we are at in Enscape. And we can even grab this camera and move it around. Up, there we are. So we can move it, somewhere else and Enscape will follow. So you can control your camera in Enscape in multiple ways through Revit. Of course, we could go into this view. Wait a second. That's not the view. That's the family. Of course, we could open that camera. But there is one thing that is important to note here. Every camera movement is a undo step. So if we were to select undo up here, Control Z or something like that, you will realize that this camera takes up a lot of them. So be aware that when you're moving with this option enabled, you're eating up your undo steps in Revit. So it is useful, but use it with care.
Okay, thank you. Can you show again, because just now one person is interested to know how can he include the Enscape rendering into a Revit sheet? Yeah.
So I'm not very familiar with Revit sheets, but as I explained beforehand, to get a rendering into Revit, you click this button here, render image into document, and that will bring it into your renderings folder. Let me just do it one more time. Render image into document, and once again in full HD. It may take a few seconds, yes.
Now it's okay.
And we have another image here in our renderings folder, and we can now use it even with the background disabled, as we've said it earlier. The alpha channel is applied, and we can now work with this image inside of Revit any way we want. So if you're creating a sheet, you should be able to include the rendering from here this way as well.
Okay, let me answer the attendees audience this question. Actually, in Revit sheet, a lot of things when you open up the Revit sheet, okay, you just drag and drop the image inside will do. Okay.
Or that. So if you have it on as a file on your desktop, you can do that as well.
Yeah, you just I mean, when you open up your Revit sheets, okay, all these images, just like any view in Revit, you just drag and drop inside will do. Okay, so that's answer that attendee question. Okay, so I have another question. There's people are interested in, they want to see the embedded video, like example, if they open up a TV, can they have program run in it, and then to create a video out of it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So in general with Enscape, we have the Enscape material editor, and you can just load instead of you loading a color texture, you can just load a video texture. Really simple. So this means that if we have a material, for example, like this, let me look up what material is applied to this wooden wall, exterior white wall. Is that it? Let's test. I want to edit this material here. Just give me a second. That's not it, but I know how to find out what material is applied to the surface. We can just go to modify, paint, and hover over this, and it's facade wood 2. So let's go back to the Enscape material editor, enter facade wood 2, and instead of the color texture that is being used here, color texture, I can replace it with any kind of image I want. Let's go with something like, I can just take the rendering that I made earlier.
I'm referring to the video.
I know, I understand that.
Okay.
So I can take one image and load that, or instead of an image, I can just load in a video. That's where I wanted to get. So if we have a video like this, another Enscape video that I've made, we just need to load it in, and it's gonna, it's a really short video that I've discarded after a brief while. So let me just take a different video, maybe this one. And you see it will just play. That's it. So you can just treat any kind of video file as image file. Obviously, we might want to go in and change the width and the height to accommodate our video file. So in this case, we have a 1920 times 1080. So we might want to go with 1.92 meters and 1.08. So we have the right aspect ratio. Now, how you manage those textures, those videos in Revit is up to you. If you have a monitor, a TV as Revit family, you just apply a material with a video texture applied, and you're good. Another great way, of course, to handle these is by using the before mentioned custom assets. So if you have access to a model of a TV, you can make that yourself. It's not very hard. I made this one. You can get it from the web, or you can also just use a single plane. Like if you have a 3D software, we can go over this at some point, how to do this. You can just take a single plane and apply a material with a video to that, and it will work just well the same. In this case, I modeled a little TV model here and applied a video to it. for Chaos V-Ray to honor their Emmy nomination. And here too, you can just take the screen material and place any kind of video on it just by replacing this albedo, this color texture. So if we want to go with a different video, this is a rather large one, but it should be fine nonetheless. We will see that it will play this video right on this screen just by selecting it as a color or albedo texture. Let's see. Yeah, there was a 600 megabyte video that I've loaded in right now.
600 megabyte.
So obviously all of that has to fit onto my graphics card. I hope that's going to be fine. Let's see. But yeah, in principle, that is how you can work with videos in materials like that. And yeah, I think I'm going to place the TV somewhere in the scene. Let's see if the video is all right. Looks good. One of my tutorials, so actually, it should be fine.
Maybe yeah, it should be embedded your training video, a short one.
Exactly.
Maybe,
exactly. That's what I did.
Like the less than 1 minute that launched the Enscape in Mac, that the video. It's less than 1 minute. Something easier. Yeah, because I want to show them that they can run create embedded video and then create a video recording in Enscape.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
So that's the idea to show them.
Are there any plans for non-reflective transparent materials, such as ghost maskings that obstruct views or context model maskings? You can make a transparent material non-reflective. You'll just make it transparent. Like this one is self-illuminated, so it's a different story. We're going to dive into that in a second. But you can just have a transparent material with a high roughness, and it will be not reflective. Eduardo, I hope that answers your question. Let's place the TV. Actually, I can do that from within Enscape itself. I think that is more comfortable. Oh, I think I've closed Enscape by accident. So let's just reopen it and point out one more time. If you have any questions, you're very welcome to ask them, and I'll be happy to answer. Now we're going to have to load the entire model and this 600 megabyte video that I've just placed on my asset onto the graphics card.
So this 600 megabyte size video is how many minutes video?
I have to look it up. I have so many videos flying around because, you know, we've just had a release.
Okay.
I can tell you, but then again, it's not an Enscape produced video. It's a video that I made in Premiere, so it's not telling us anything about Enscape. Excuse me, Enscape quality in any way or anything. So let me just go in and maybe place the TV over here by the fire stove. Do we have enough place? Or maybe on here.
Yeah.
Let's press L, pick our TV.
Yeah,
place it there
and drop. Yeah,
click apply changes. Now I did use a hard to read placeholder when I created this model, so I never know what is the front and what's the back. In this case we chose the wrong side, so we can move to the movement here in the assets controls and rotate it by a 90 degree, and now we have a monitor standing around here. It's going a little bit over the ledge, but anyways, I think it should suffice as an example. And if we want to make a video of that, we can just once again press the V key and K to place a keyframe. This is what the keyframe looks like, the camera. We can fly close to this and take a couple of keyframes here. We can actually even switch to night to see how nicely it's going to illuminate the scene. So let's go in here and save this time of day. Let's say it's 5 p.m. when we are starting. And let's go to the last one and say it's 7 p.m. when ending. Just a quick preview. I think we're a little short with 7 seconds. So I'm just going to extend it to 25 seconds or something like that. Just press P, so it's starting the preview. Oh, interesting. So I might have to update my graphics card driver, or it might have been that the video was a little bit too large for my graphics card. So let's see. I've just chose to ignore that error. We'll see how it behaves. I'm just going to let it load for a second. I might have to restart Enscape. We'll see. I hope I can show you how to create the video. Are there any other questions at the moment?
Okay, let me see the question. Yeah. Just one person. Okay. Okay. Ecuador asks, are there any special freebie Enscape asset being distributed today? Actually, I don't know what it means.
So we have introduced the option to provide special assets for individual audiences or for individual occasions. We have had a special offer running over the last couple of weeks on our website. I'm afraid that is closed right now, as far as I know. That was the Interior 2022 offer. So I'm not aware that there are any special assets being distributed today. If you don't know of any, Grace, then I suppose that there are no special ones for this webinar today.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is Enscape GPU based or CPU based?
It is almost entirely GPU based, which means when you open Enscape, when it loads the scene, that's where the CPU takes place. Everything else is being controlled by the GPU. So the graphics card is what it all comes down to for Enscape.
Okay. Thank you. I think we have achieved answer a lot of questions and just miss out to see this video coming out. Yeah, but never mind, because we have seen how to embed the video already. And yeah, so I made the video on a TV, and this can be run also on a big screen. It's a similar concept. And anyway,
Yes.
there's already a good training on how to create video also. So this one is okay. If you need it, I will provide the link when I upload as YouTube. Okay. Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So then there's a question. So Ecuador is asking, am I at a disadvantage using a Quadro cut? Is in the chat. Maybe you can have a look, Kai. Yeah. It's in the chat. What is Quadro cut? Yeah. Kai, what happened? Is Kai suddenly disappeared? Yeah, I think he suddenly disappeared. Okay, maybe his computer hang. Never mind. Let me answer that question. Okay, about the card thing. Yeah, because in terms of the graphic card, it already stated in the website what is the graphic card that is allowed to run Enscape. Yeah. While we waiting for Kai to come back, I can show you in the website. Yeah, in the Enscape website. Okay, let me go to share the screen on the Enscape website. Okay, so where we can get the information, okay, is in here under resources, we can look at the knowledge base. Okay, yeah, and then in terms of which software that we are using, example is Revit, because now they start with breaking into this. Then is the system requirement. Let me type system requirements. Okay, yeah, click on it. Okay, so in here you can see the system requirement. Let me scroll down. Okay, so there's a requirement on graphic card. So this is what is the graphic cards that are recommended and their driver. So it's quite you just need to quite a number of questions is already answered in the Enscape website. Just that you need to search for it. Of course, certain answers may not be there if they are something new. Okay, so yeah. So the graphic card mainly is the information is in here. So in my experience, I prefer to use the Neva GeForce graphic card. Yeah, my computer is using this one, even though it's a nearly 6 years old computer. Okay, it's still quite good. Okay, but of course, the newer your graphic card, the better. Yeah, so nowadays the graphic card are quite good. Yeah, so if you are interested to use software like Enscape, okay, for your presentation. Yeah, a good graphic card is important. What I did is that when I buy the laptop, I showed because I'm using Revit and Enscape, so I asked them, yeah, hi Kai, thank you for coming back. I have you to answer the graphic card first on the Enscape website. Yeah, so when I buy the laptop, I show the seller, okay, that on the Enscape requirement, okay, so I say on the laptop I want must be a workstation laptop that it can meet the requirement for Revit and Enscape. Yeah, and to be must be VR ready, so it will be more useful to VR ready. So that is a more useful for a lot of work to be done. Okay, in doing Enscape work. So graphic card is very important. You get the good graphic card, it will help you to do the job. The good thing about Enscape technology is that they backend do a lot of work so that it makes the user easy to use the software to produce a good result. So it's a good investment to use Enscape software because it just makes your life so much easier. Because a lot of things is done by the programming side. So at the user end is easier to use. You just need to be good on your software. Example, as a Revit users, I need to be good in Revit, know how to set their lighting and material. And then Enscape will help to make them so much better. Okay, so that's the thing. Yeah. So Kai, can you answer the question about the Quadro card? Yes, inside.
Yeah, if I understood correctly, so the NVIDIA Quadro cards and the GeForce cards, they are on a technical level not very different. They are quite similar. Quadro cards usually provide more VRAM, more graphics card RAM, which means if you're working with very big projects with very complex models, it can definitely pay off to go with a Quadro card. Apart from that, there is not really much of a difference for Enscape. For Enscape, it's you can also use a GTX, GeForce, RTX graphics card, and it will work fine as well. Quadro cards, the only real difference is that they can provide the double the amount of VRAM, which can be beneficial depending on the scale of your models.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Kai. Yeah. So any more question? Yeah, for Kai. Yeah. Let me see.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so if there's no more question, then we will call it a day. Yeah, we just plan it to be a useful session of learning. Yeah. Okay, so can I ask any one of you is actually very new in Enscape? I mean that you have never used it or learned it before. Yeah, can you put out your hand, because now we are showing the new features, but if you're very new to it, maybe you want to have a quick understanding from Kai, because it's very difficult to get him. So yeah, if you have more questions, feel free to stay behind and ask. For those who are happy with what you see today, maybe you can quietly exit. Okay, if you are happy with the new feature you see. But if there's anyone that's totally new in Enscape and will have some question to ask, we are happy to answer your question. Okay, so we see one hand that is put up. So maybe Kai, you can yeah, show him, stop sharing first. Yeah, maybe Kai, you can show him the, introduce him what Enscape is, since he's new to it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you want me to present what Enscape is?
Yeah,
To start present.
yeah, since someone he said he's new to Enscape, so maybe you can show him what Enscape is about. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so let's try show demonstrate what Enscape is about. Okay.
So Enscape is a real-time rendering solution that provides great quality, great results with little to no effort, which means that you can control it with your native design application. That's Revit or SketchUp, Rhino or ArchiCAD or Vectorworks. Enscape is a plugin for all of these design softwares. So it's not a standalone software where you export your project into and then work on it in there or then continue working on it there. Enscape is more like a viewer that sits on top of your existing design of your existing work and provides good quality right away. And all the changes you provide to your scene, be it moving objects, designing things, placing lights, changing the light intensity, and so on and so forth, is being done in your native design application. So in this case, Revit, if I decide to move things around, to edit my design, to apply a section cut, to switch through design options or phases, etc. Okay, Revit doesn't want me to do that. All of that is being done inside of Revit, inside of your design application. On top of that, on top of being a accessible rendering solution that you can just start using without a lot of training, we have also added a couple of useful features that elevate existing processes or workflows, which means we, for example, have a BIM mode with which you can review the BIM information of the objects in your scene. We have a collaborative annotations mode, which allows you to share, well, issues, to track issues, to discuss with your colleagues, whatever, exchange them using the design application file or BIM collaboration format, etc. And then we also, of course, allow you to share your design using virtual reality, using still images, using videos, 360-degree panoramas that you can share on your mobile phones right away. Is that what, like, should I go further, Grace? How long I mean, Enscape is quick to explain. I hope that has been clear. Of course, there's a lot we can go into detail in, and we have a good set of tutorials on our website, enscape3d.com, where you can get started, where you can, on one hand, download a trial, which is free for 14 days, and you can go to our video tutorials page where you can watch a 1 hour video of me talking about Enscape for example, Revit, teaching you everything you need to know about it. So maybe that is a good point to jump in if you don't know what Enscape is about. What do you think, Grace? Oh, wait a second. Oh yeah, I am sharing. Good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So Enscape, you can see that Enscape has already a lot of training video in there. But feel free to ask question even after the, because you have my email. Okay, I will send you my email. Yeah, and I will ask you anything. Feel free to feedback to us. Yeah. So I will send you a short survey to see what you would like to see more in future. Okay. Okay. Then thanks Kai for coming to answer all our questions, and also thank all of you for attending this seminar. Take your time to come here. Okay, thanks. Thanks everyone. So we'll see
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a good time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you, Kai. Bye-bye. Yeah. Bye, everybody. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So feel free to ask me any question also. Okay. Yeah. After this event. Thank you. Bye-bye.